My name's Ian Aber, and this is Straight People. Joining us this week, hilarious comedian and Floridian, Mr. Patrick Dalton. How you doing today, Patrick?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Okay, we're already onto that, huh? Okay. Patrick, how you feeling this? What is this? A Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. We were supposed to start a couple hours ago, but I decided I was going to watch the impeachment hearings, and I immediately fell asleep and forgot to come pick you up.
No more years.
Yeah, no more
years.
I don't know. They weren't. It's not as interesting. Like to me, when if you like gay people are going to have an impeachment hearing, to be like, now the charges will be read.
It'd be like flamboyant.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even like totally entertaining. But because
it should
it's
be.
Straight white people, they're like, all right, let's keep this as low key and dusty as possible.
It's weird. Yeah. The perception is that it's not entertainment. You know that it's so like it's supposed to be so like strict.
Just try a little bit.
Yeah, have a fun time. At least dress fun. Or at least
have a commentator being like, okay, this looks really boring, but like that was some white man shade.
Oh yeah.
When he said that.
Even a gay color commentator would just be like, oh, what he just said, we know what he's really saying.
Translation.
Yeah, exactly.
She's wrecked. All right, so we call this little podcast Straight People. We are recording live in my husband's basement here. This is the room where we put all the hang all the art that we don't like.
This is a basement?
This is a basement.
It feels like a den.
It's a media room. We call it a media room.
Wow.
Now it's a podcast studio.
I like the light fixture. It's a beautiful touch.
Yeah, track lighting. It's a necessity in every homosexual's home.
Okay. I'll believe whatever you tell me.
Right? You better.
I do.
You're from Jacksonville, Florida, right?
I am 904 Duval. They'd be mad.
What is that called? The left coast?
The left coast.
Or first coast? Is it first coast? What's its official? Doesn't it call itself the first coast?
Well, to be honest with you, I guess the answer would probably be yes. Yeah. Just because
it was discovered before any other
our
of the
news
coasts.
station, I think one of our news stations was called First Coast News or something like that. So that makes sense. I didn't know that until you just said that, and then I put those things
Someone
together.
explained it to me once, and I was like, why does it smell like poo-poo then?
Yeah, it does. It smells like it's coffee, but
You get
you
used
could call
to
it shit, or you could call it, I think it's a Folgers coffee plant.
No, it's the water. Isn't it the water?
Is it the water that tastes like or smells like?
Have you
the
been
water
back recently?
Like shit?
The first time you take a shower?
I haven't been back since I left. I will never.
So you did like a Reba McEntire fancy where you ain't looked back?
I have to be honest with you. I don't know what Reba McEntire did, but I would be honored to follow in her footsteps.
Fancy is the story of a little girl who grew up in a tar paper shack, and her mama ain't got nothing, and they're about to come take away both the kids. But the last thing the mother does before her children are taken away and she dies is that she turns her daughter out into well, not really a prostitute. Just basically tells her to use your feminine wiles to get whatever you want from men. Oh. Just be nice to the gentleman fancy and they'll be nice to you. But the big point is that she walked out of that tar paper shack and she ain't never been back. She never looked back.
And that's good.
Not even for a second.
Is that good?
Well, I mean, at the end of the song, she has a Georgia mansion and an elegant New York flat. So, I mean, in terms of possessions.
And those are two different sides of the country.
Exactly.
Which means you're doing well.
Exactly.
If I have something, I don't care what it is. If I have property in New York and in Georgia, I'm doing well.
Yeah, I think she seemed to be happy.
That's what's most important to me is Reba McEntire's happiness. I've never seen the show, nor have I.
You didn't listen to the song. There's even a lyric where it's like, and she said something about, she took a moment, she looked down, she watched a roach crawl across the top of her mama's shoe, and then she's like, Mama, what do I do? And she's like, and the mom's like, just be nice to the gentleman, fancy, and they'll be nice to you. Boom, chorus, and you're just like, oh, you know.
I'm not finding if I'm not done.
Yeah, you don't even know the song, but you know the song. Yeah.
No, that sounds great, man.
Well, anyways, you're the Jacksonville fancy.
I am the Jacksonville fan. That makes. I'm gonna put that on my tombstone.
The Jacksonville fancy.
I'm the Jacksonville fancy. Yeah.
And how long have you been in Atlanta?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
What's the biggest difference between Jacksonville and Atlanta, Georgia?
I guess there would be a few differences.
Okay.
I think that Atlanta.
I just asked for one, but if you have to give me three, we've got time for three. We do have time for three. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I clarify that even if I chose
the top difference between Atlanta and Jacksonville.
I think Atlanta's just a little bit
number three. Are we doing number three? Are we counting up or down?
No, we can just do one.
Okay,
I'm
just
cool with one. I don't really want to even
counting down. Number one.
Number one. I guess Atlanta's just a little bit more unified and a little bit more put together. And aware of that too. Even though there are still like some
put together.
Yeah.
Just make it sound like a pretty mom. mom.
It is a pretty mom. Atlanta's a pretty.
Jacksonville's
She's got
a mother
tattoos,
who let herself go.
Oh yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
Or
I don't know.
dad.
Actually, Jacksonville's not. I mean, it's because it's so large.
Yeah.
There's just so many different shades of Jacksonville. Because you can go to the beach and see one thing. You can be at the west side or the north side and see something, or downtown, 5 Points. So
I worked for a company that was based out of Jacksonville, and lovely people. But
I know when you start anything off, when you say it like
lovely,
that, they're so
people.
lovely. Here's what I'm about to say about them.
Possess all their teeth. That's lovely people. But they were referred to, so it was like a big corporate, like a big company all over the country. And in Alpharetta in Atlanta, where the other big office was, they were referred to as the swamp people. So like, and these are like the managers and like the heads of the companies, like those toothless swamp people down there. Can't da-da-da-da-da-da. And it would be like, you got to be pretty bad for someone in Georgia to feel like that superior. You know?
I think that Georgians naturally feel superior to Floridians. Yeah. I think that there's already something like that. I mean, when I'm
swamp people.
I was gonna say they could be referring to the fact that they like the Florida Gators because they are considered. But then when you said toothless swamp people, I assumed that they weren't talking about fans of the Gators. They were talking about.
I didn't say toothless. I said that they possess all their teeth. I complimented them. Well, but everyone I ever met in Jacksonville had all of their front teeth at least. All the show teeth. I don't know what's going on in the back of the grill.
I don't know why that's even like a measure of any sort of value.
Well, I mean, I'm not counting teeth when I meet people, but
I am.
When you meet somebody who doesn't have all their teeth, sometimes you notice.
Oh, I would hope more often than not, depending upon where they are, you at least notice. Yeah, you don't have to express it to them. You don't have to say you toothless fuck. No. But you could at least make a mental note.
At least put a note in their
in their mouth. You put a note and you put it in their mouth.
The tooth should be here. Place tooth here.
Yeah.
No.
Just a picture of a tooth.
Just a note, like in your. You keep notes in your.
I agree.
In your contacts, and sometimes you.
I don't.
Missing lots of teeth. Don't bring it up.
I should have.
I had somebody say that to me recently.
I
had somebody say that recently. I won't dish on who it was, but it was in the comedy. It was somebody adjacent to the comedy scene. Was describing somebody.
Jason from the comedy scene.
Jason, you know Jason from the comedy scene.
Oh,
old mustard boy Jason.
Oh, hey, squirting that mustard.
That's an inside reference we won't explain. But coming soon in another podcast.
It's been coming up a lot more than you would think.
You think so?
I mean, at least more than the readers would think, or the listeners, or the subscribers.
I feel like that there's a so listeners, and if anyone who's listening to this isn't intimately familiar with the Atlanta comedy scene, and I can't imagine why you'd be listening if you're not. We had a secret messenger mustard boy who wrote like an anonymous post, and the anonymous post was letting everyone know about all of their failings as comedians and humans, really.
I think it was just gripes. A lot of gripes going on.
Very well structured gripe, like a 10-part gripe. I have an 11-part gripe. My gripe has as many points as there are on the zodiac.
Yeah, of course.
My Capricorn gripe is, but and I've been contemplating doing a podcast just about it, like doing a 6-part like serial-esque podcast.
I mean, there's a lot of compelling issues I think that could be brought up besides just the overt. Who is Mustard Boy? There's so many things that can erupt.
Like, what is Mustard Boy? Why is Mustard Boy?
What is Mustard Boy? Who is Mustard Boy?
What's
but not only who is Mustard Boy, but what is
what's
the necessity for
anonymity in an age where we're so connected? Like, why do you need that? Why do you have to do it that way?
I mean, repercussions, I think, is the first thing that I would think, because your perceived repercussions, being able to express that, and then how the hammer coming down, the hammer of Atlanta comedy coming down on you for being.
But there isn't one person that controls everything, so who would be the hammer?
I don't think
it'd have to be a collection.
Again, that's the misconception, though.
It would be. It'd basically be like it'd have to be a collusion against that person.
What's it called?
A motherfucking collusion.
With like when groups of people are running the scene. They're
straight people. It's called fucking straight people. And that brings us back to the point of the podcast. Boom. Speaking of straight people, you're a straight person, right?
Purpose. I am.
You are? You're the third straight person I've ever let in my house. I'm joking.
I thought you said this was your husband's house.
His basement. This is his basement. The rest of it's mine. No, this is actually it was supposed to be a basement. This is the story of my life. I was supposed to have a basement, but they couldn't fit a basement on this lot, so they just built it as a 3-story house.
But then wouldn't the lowest story then be considered the basement?
I still call it the basement.
Oh, that's why you call this a basement.
Yeah, it's not a basement.
So it's almost like a petty thing.
It's a first floor.
You're being petty towards like the architects of this home years and years ago by calling it a basement.
I don't know how to tell people I have a 3-story house.
This is a fucking
I'm just trying to brag about that I have a 3-story house. I don't have a 2-story in a basement like some common straight person.
Why do you call it a basement or still fond of it as a basement? It's just like, but you want it to be 3 stories.
It's just like when really rich people call like their beach house when it's really a palatial estate on the beach. Not that that's what I have here. I'm just saying. I call it a basement because it's like...
Did you want to say palatial estate? Is that something that you've been wanting?
No, I don't.
Because I don't know whenever that would come up.
Well,
so I'm glad that it could be put in.
I know you. I know what you... I'm like, I wonder like what you would imagine a palatial estate would be.
It would be
like an IHOP with like a really nice like grassy area next to it.
I don't know what palatial means, so
like it's like a palace.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I read it more as
you know
like
what a palace is.
I've never heard.
Never heard.
No, what's a palace?
A palace is like a real big apartment.
Really?
Super big.
Wow.
Right? If an apartment was a house and that house was as big as a castle.
A castle? Okay. No, I don't know what that is either.
Castle. A castle?
A castle?
I don't know. I'm really weirdly mispronouncing words.
Neither nor. I don't know. Neither nor.
Nor? We're 11 minutes in. I don't think we've talked about anything.
No, we never. We tend to not. I think that of the conversations that we have, we move through it pretty quick.
Okay. You know? So Mustard Boy, you're not Mustard Boy.
I am not. I would be Mustard Man if anything.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I know my limits, and I like to push it all the way to the limits. So I would be Mustard Man. If Mustard Man does come out. Even if it's not me,
it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. Now it's everybody. Now we're all Mustard Boy.
Well, and I think even just the idea that we haven't contributed to the benefit of a Mustard Boy means that we are continuing to breed Mustard Boys. You know,
contributed to the benefit of a Mustard Boy.
We got to give Mustard Boy what he wants. You know,
you think?
Give him everything he wants. All right. If he wants a palatial estate, you fucking give Mustard Boy a palatial estate. Still not 100% sure what that means.
But my thing is I don't think that Mustard Boy knows what he wants.
No.
And even if you gave it to him, he wouldn't be able to do a damn thing with it.
No, of course not.
Because a true performer and a true artist wouldn't even be worried about any of that shit.
Well, no, because you have to work for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you're
not concerned about what's happening in other people's lanes. And when you are, it's for a moment. And it should only motivate you to work harder.
Frame of reference and motivation. Yeah, exactly.
So, like, the idea that it's like, oh, well, my art is completely stalled out because of all these other people. It's like, is it though?
Well, it's like when you get
is this the same problem you have everywhere in your life?
That's like when you get sent to the principal's office and you're like, it's not my fault, it's the teacher's fault. You know?
Yeah, or what?
It's like, okay, buddy. That's what you think. You know?
But you are. So we'll go back to, I guess, your straightness. You're a straight person from Florida. From Florida,
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Orlando, Florida.
But you grew up in Orlando. But you came up in
Orlando.
You grew up around Orlando.
Lake Mary, Florida, technically.
Okay.
But nobody knows what that means for the most part.
So if you were in Florida, people would be like, "You're not from fucking Orlando. You're from Lake Mary."
I wouldn't. If I was talking to somebody from Florida, I would just tell them Lake Mary.
Okay. Well, that's like I say I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but I'm really like from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina.
Yeah, but it's just the conversation.
But if I said Murrells Inlet to anybody who doesn't know Myrtle, they would just be like, "What?
What? Yeah,
exactly."
So if I say Lake Mary,
but if I'm in Myrtle and I say I'm from Myrtle, and then they're like, "Well, where do you?" and I'm like, and I tell them where I live, they're like, "No."
Yeah. Well, Lake Mary, Florida sounds like it's like a retirement community or something like that. So it's not easy to.
Is it a retirement community?
It wasn't. It could be now, but I have not been back.
You've been back in a couple of years.
I've never been back. See, well, that's what I just
so were you
burned
born?
these bridges.
You were born in. I was born the bridges.
I was born in Newport Richey.
Okay.
And then moved to Brooksville when I was a kid, and then moved from Brooksville to around Orlando, and then moved to Lake Mary, and then moved from Lake Mary to.
So you moved around a lot, but all like within the greater Orlando, Jack's. So you moved around a lot, but all in Florida.
Yes, I've never lived.
Am I correct in saying that you and I went on a road trip one time to Alabama, and I feel like while we were there, you said, "This is the first time I've ever been to Alabama."
It was. It is the first time that I had been to Alabama.
Okay.
That's how words work. It is the first time I had been.
I know, but I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised.
I haven't been anywhere, man.
Yeah, apparently.
I haven't done shit.
You've only been to Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. What other states have you been to?
I've been to New York. I've been through states to get to like South Carolina, North Carolina type stuff.
Okay.
But, I mean, I've been to Chicago before. Never been out of the country.
Okay.
And really, I think what I just said is all of it. So I think that's about all.
I've been through a lot of states. I just can't believe like you live that close to Florida. You live in Florida and you've never been out. Well, I guess then you've never been to Louisiana.
No.
Okay. You need to go to New Orleans. You have a very New Orleans vibe. You do. And especially since you wear all those burgundy shirts, like the fucking the turn of the
burgundy.
The turn of the 2000s vampire.
It makes me feel burgundy. Beautiful.
Yeah. You would look like a vampire all day. You like a beer swelling vampire down in New Orleans.
I do swell a lot of beer. And I could be. I mean, I wouldn't mind being a vampire. I think it's the immortality that probably I would.
Yeah,
be
I'm
more,
too old to be a vampire
for.
now. Like I don't want to look like this forever. That seems like unfair.
I felt that way with.
But I also wouldn't want to look
Kirsten Dunst with her character
when she was a
in
child.
Interview with
That's
a
the whole
Vampire.
thing.
That sounds so shitty.
It's an abomination. She's an abomination.
I would hate.
She did such a great job with that.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, their look and their age. Yeah. Perfect for an idea of a vampire, for being a vampire. Kirsten Dunst got real. I mean, that's fucked up. Yeah. I mean, whoever did that did the worst. You know, and I mean, I guess being a vampire.
I like how you're like really, you're really upset about it.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Who would have done this?
The living dead.
Who would have done this to Kirsten Dunst?
That's why. Nobody did that to Halle. That's why Armand. What's his name's character? Antonio Banderas' character. Armand. That's why when they go to the Theatre des Vampires in France, which when Bob Place just went to France, Bob who works at the Laughing Skull, he was like, all I know about France is the Theater of the Vampires. From then I was like, that's not a real thing.
Oh man, I would love Bob's that boy. I would love.
They go to the Theater of the Vampires. They go to France. Remember, they get it. If you remember the movie correctly, do you remember the movie?
I mean, I remember
or the book.
I mean, I remember parts of it.
Yeah.
It was
well, they like decide to go abroad and they go to France.
Oh yeah,
and then immediately the other vampires are like, "What? There's new vampires in town." And then they see her and they're like, "We can't. That's against the rules. Can't be making baby vampires."
See, and it feels like that's right. I mean, I hate to weigh in on these sorts of ideals and values, but I think that the vampires in France are right. You shouldn't be making baby vampires. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with that. I think that, first of all, vampires, werewolves, mummies, mermen, no babies. I don't want any. I don't want little baby versions of any of those. People,
mermen. I like how you said
like what was the creature from the Black Lagoon? What is that? That's the
creature from the Black Lagoon is just a creature from it's the description
monster?
of the film is what it is. He's just a creature from the Black Lagoon. If he was a merman, they would just call him a merman. You know what I mean?
Well, what if he is a merman?
I don't think it was.
You don't know he's not a merman.
When you say it like that, I guess I can't. I agree. That I
suppose by the traditional sense,
but I mean, I would assume
that a mer person has the bottom half of a fish.
Well, like for instance, when did that movie come out? Like
really attractive white person.
The 60s or the 70s? Yeah. Well,
which one?
Hot.
Which movie?
The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Well, yes, it did. Well, probably the 50s.
So they knew mer people then. So they could have clarified if they wanted.
But I wonder if like the whole thing is like, because it's the Black Lagoon, it's like all of it's supposed to be racist.
You're saying it's racist?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why, it's like it's a creature from the Black Lagoon, but it's really just, we're afraid of black people, and so here's this monster instead, or whatever.
Damn, that's real deep.
I don't know.
That's deep.
I always thought of that creature as like a mer or something. I guess merman, I'm thinking in terms of like...
Aquaman?
Maybe, I guess, or I think that maybe Masters of the Universe, they had one of the characters was literally
Masters of the Universe.
His name, He-Man. Are you doing some Skeletor?
Is that what that is? Okay, because I feel like
that's Skeletor.
He-Man.
It's just really any shrill.
It is. It's like I didn't know. That's what that's really close.
If you ever listen to ever watch
He-Man.
What's that on Adult Swim? Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I've seen those.
The Monarch is basically just Skeletor. Yeah, it's the same. Bring me my pod.
Bring me cheese and wine.
Did a podcast called Critical Bits, which everyone should check out. It's a great role-playing podcast.
Check out Critical Bits, buddy.
But I play a villain, and that's the voice. It's the same. Yeah.
You play Skeletor?
Yeah. Well, my character's name is Game Room, and so it's like I keep putting them in the characters like in holograms, like in video games, or the last one they were at a like Camp Crystal Lake sort of situation, being chased by murderers.
You had me scared there because this podcast is called Straight People, and your name was Game Room.
Game Room,
thinking that it was like
gay man room.
Like that's what I was like.
That's what all those game rooms are. They're just the gay man's room. They're all gay bars.
Really?
No, that'd been amazing.
That would be.
The 80s would have been so much more fun.
Yeah. Well, you tell me. I was born in 1990. So.
Yeah, I hate that about you.
Yeah, everybody everybody does. That's what most people hate about me the most.
I was in junior high school when you were born. How old was your mother when she had you?
19.
19. Oh, so we could have been hanging out. I could be your dad. Not really, but
well, I mean, technically.
No, I mean like age-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
sad.
I mean, like, you also sad. Could.
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time hanging around with people that I could be their dad.
Well, you know, I mean, I guess as far as I just mean even under the circumstances, you know, you could potentially. Anybody could.
I mean, I don't know where I was every day that year.
I'm telling you, if you were in Florida at any point in the year 1989,
yeah,
you could be my dad.
Get real quiet. All of a sudden, my boy. But so you are a straight person.
I am. Yeah. One more time.
So
for the third time.
When was who's the first gay person you remember? So like a lot of people like so when you're born gay, you like know something's up right away. You don't know you're gay yet per se, but you figure out even before you know your sexuality that something's different. When you're straight, you're just born straight. Like you're just born regular. Like you're just fucking original recipe. Mm-hmm. You ain't extra crispy. So like, but normal. At some no. Well, in Florida, we'll call it normal. But
oh man.
When at some point you either saw somebody that was gay like on television or a movie, somebody around you called somebody else gay as like a slur, or what happened with me and happened sometimes is somebody was pointed out, that person's gay, so and so's gay, you know, like the town fag kind of sits. Do you remember like your first?
Oh yeah, when I was like
your first gay.
Yeah, when I was like I don't know, like 3 or 4, I went to Disney World with my mom, and she went with her 2 gay friends. Her friend, I think it was Kathy, and her girlfriend at the time.
Okay, nice.
And then, I mean, yeah, I've been exposed to that most of my life. I mean, even like a friend of mine named Tristan, we went to another spot. And Tristan. But he's actually getting married next year. Big ups to Tristan. I won't say his last name. Yeah. It doesn't matter anyway. But
is he not listening to the cast?
He won't listen. He can't hear. But I remember going to I don't know. He had his mom had a friend named Lyle who also was gay, and like I remember going to stuff with them, doing like fucking going to Chili's and shit and just like stuff like that. You know, just what you do in Florida. I don't realize how whenever you outline that I'm from Florida, it makes me think that everything that I say is very Floridian, and then I realize
you are the Floridian.
I'm from Florida. Yeah, so it makes sense. Yeah,
you are Florida as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my father's from Florida. My brother went to Jacksonville University.
You say it like,
I have spent time.
You say it like when people are like, "Oh no, don't worry. Like I know gay people. I got a black friend.
Well, I've
been to Florida. Like I know.
I've met a lot of people from Florida, and you are pretty quintessential Florida. Do you know what I'm saying? I hate to say, you're not in flip flops. You don't have a cooler full of fucking Coors Light with you, but under some reconfiguration, you could be that person. I have my sister-in-law,
the pinnacle of Florida.
Or my former sister-in-law is from Florida, and when my brother and her got married, her mother's, let's just call him a special friend, Jimmy. Jimmy was very special. Jimmy could have been your dad, as far as I'm concerned. But Jimmy, his biggest issue with the marriage was the wedding, was that he could not bring his cooler of Busch Light in with him to the Catholic church, and that we had to leave it outside the front door, and he was really worried that someone would steal it.
I'd have been pissed too. Man. I can't bring my cooler in here.
Look, but he wasn't wrong, because no one stole his cooler, but when we came out at the end of the night, all the beer was gone.
All the beer was gone. Of course it was, man. Of course it was. Who's going to watch over my beer if I leave my cooler out here?
Absolutely.
Look, all right, damn near, the cooler not as valuable as the beer inside of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got 224 racks.
And then my brother, for a while, lived in Pensacola, too, so I feel like I've really hit.
See, but then that's a
totally different style of redneck.
There's a bunch of different ways.
Which is much more, they're much more Alabama over there in my mind.
Because, I mean, you can be Miami, Florida, you can be Key West.
Well, that's my father. My father grew up in Miami, and so he might as well just Orlando. Be from like Pennsylvania, in my mind. He grew up in like Hispanic and like fun Miami. He grew up in like 50s and 60s.
Was there a time before that?
Yeah, I think so. Like I remember, like my mother is from Chile, and everyone, she thought she was Cuban because there's so many Cubans coming over. And so the whole thing was that my grandmother would call my mother the Cuban, and my mother was like, I'm from a whole other country, you dumb bitch, or whatever. But that was like, Cuban. That changed Miami. Like, so Miami was, of course, not nearly as Latin
it's like its own sovereign nation now.
It was, exactly. So it's like, whatever Miami is now is like so different than like so when my father grew up, it's like, they grew up in Coral Gables. It was just like a suburb. It was just do you know what I mean? Like, now it's like, it's in the middle of the city.
Sounds like saltine crackers,
Yeah, pretty white. Gross. I would say that the whitest.
Sounds like it's dry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sounds very dry.
Yeah.
It's weird you say that about...
my father loves a bologna sandwich with nothing on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's his dream. Like,
it's like I mean, I've moved through that. I've moved through the bologna portion of my life.
Well, now you're in Atlanta, so you got to like grow up and learn all about stuff that isn't Florida.
I'm learning so much about stuff. Especially stuff that isn't Florida.
Yeah.
It's just overwhelming. I don't know how a boy can take it all in. It's tough.
It's like, why doesn't this have puka shells on it?
Yeah. Why isn't this? Why aren't these flip flops?
Yeah.
Wait, why are these shoes not flip flops?
Why is this song not a Jimmy Buffett song?
How come this ice is outside of the freezer? This don't make any sense to me. Look at the trees. Look at the leaves. I was standing on my porch, no shit, and like there was yellow leaves falling on my porch when I was like outside, like smoking a cigarette or something. And I just genuinely thought to myself, I was like, man, this is beautiful. I was like, nature's beautiful, just the way that the world is. I can't believe it. Oh man, I love being in Georgia.
Yeah, and let's talk about your living situation. You live with a bunch of other comics.
I do. And
you refer to yourselves collectively as...
I don't want to do
you don't want to do
Dem boys.
Wow, it's already come to that.
It's not. Just the way that you put it up.
Wow.
You refer to yourself as, and now you.
Well, who else refers to you as that? You started it. You guys started it. We didn't all collectively decide to call you.
I agree. Yes, I agree. I think what happened is that
Dem Boys, just in case you didn't hear it.
Yes, Dem Boys.
Dem Boys. Oh no, parentheses. Oh no.
Parentheses.
Apostrophe. I confuse those. Apostrophe DEM BOYS.
The way you would spell
not a Z.
S. No,
and it's with a Y, not an I.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's DEMBOYS. Dem Boys.
Dem Boys. There used to be 3 of you.
Yes. Now there's 4 of us.
There's the original 3 were.
Myself, Spencer Wizzo, Chris is lame.
Okay.
So originally, Spencer Wizzo and myself moved up here. Chris is lame started living with us maybe about a year ago, a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And then another boy named Alex, another boy.
And then
another boy showed up.
Oh my God, there's 7 boys.
There's so many boys. And then another boy showed up. Alex Gasparini. We're all straight boys.
Just insufferable.
It is
you keep a clean house for some straight. But I've only been at your house for like shows.
Actually, for what it's worth, we do keep it pretty clean. Yeah. I think all of us are pretty keen on that. And Spencer and I are older. And Spencer and I have lived together for years in different capacities in different places, so we know each other pretty well.
So your sitcom has been reconfigured quite a few times.
It has,
wow.
yeah. We've just at least the situation where the comedy happens has indeed changed over time. So, but the comedy itself. Oh boy, and comedy ensues. That's what when we write a script, it always just says "and comedy ensues" after all the scenes, because it's true. Because it's so damn true. So when Chris moved in, Chris kind of coined the Dem Boys, sort of.
Okay.
Because before that, again, it was just Spencer and myself, and we weren't Dem Boys. It was just me and Spencer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like pretty easy to keep track.
It's pretty much like, are they a gay couple?
Well, you know what I mean? Man, it's funny. Yeah, we've had
it was that couple.
We've had a lot of that going around.
Oh, that's funny. Wait, really? It was. Tell me, is there? Give me some dirt. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's like when we were in
like
came up in Jacksonville.
Who's been outed now? Like that's what I expect to hear in the comedy scene, because that's sort of how it happens.
I think that's another thing that wouldn't happen in Jacksonville the way that it's happened in Atlanta. Is I don't think people would be as free to divulge it or to do it the way that they have here in Atlanta.
Well, it's sort of like it doesn't, like what I notice is there's been a couple people who like Akeem Woods has a wonderful joke about coming out. He didn't come out, he got caught. That's the, and I think that's sort of the case in Atlanta. So like in Atlanta, it's like, you know, we have a lot of people talking about being bisexual, and then every once in a while we have people that get caught being bisexual, and then occasionally they mention it on stage. And either way, I'm fine with it. So just like that's not how it was back when I love the idea that you can be fluid and you don't have to be straight, you don't have to be gay, you can be whatever you want to be.
You want to be.
Just, you know, clean up after yourselves. That's all. Bring some fucking
just
wet
make sure you have a towel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Not every wall is a load-bearing wall. Let's just say that.
True.
Okay?
Well, I mean, it could be, but
at the gay bar it is. That's my joke.
Because I mean, we had a few different people in the scene that you knew that they were probably bi or gay or something like that, or we'd have conversations and stuff. But it was never something that was important in that regard. It was important to them, but it wasn't important for people to know, or it wasn't important for it to be a thing.
And I think that is in a way
have more importance.
I think that's because of to distinguish yourself a little bit from everybody else. You want to be as much of yourself on stage as possible, and we have a lot of influence. You can see in our scene from like New York and LA, and that like in LA, I hear that everybody's bi. Everyone's on stage talking about how hard it is to be bi.
I mean, that makes sense,
and that's fine. You know what I mean? As long as when I tell my gay jokes, it doesn't hurt them. But I think that's what we're having in Atlanta. You see, just the identity. It's just how do I distinguish myself from the 10 other people that have just been seen? And for me, it's like not even that. It's like I've been gay so long, there's nothing else to be, and I got plenty else of shit to talk about, but. I don't know. Like to me, it's like if there's 3 gay people on the show, I don't worry about that because none of us are doing anything close to what the other ones are doing.
And then it almost makes it seem, or the implication of that is that you guys are all the same because you're gay, or that because
and I think that tends to be more of a fear that we have than a truth that is.
Right.
You know, agree. Well, like every once in a while, I'll have a comic say. I've definitely had that where I'm on a show and they're like, "Oh, you have to follow," and then it's another gay comic. They're like, "Are you worried about that?" And I'm like. When I first started, I would have been because I didn't know how much of my material was intrinsically me, and I didn't know how much of my material was just like capital G gay. I didn't know. And now that I've been doing this long enough, it's like almost all the jokes that are capital G gay, I don't even do them anymore. Like any joke that I have that's like some other gay person could do it, and it doesn't matter that it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't do those jokes.
I feel like that's like evolution of voice too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? It's definitely an evolution of voice.
Yeah.
So what do you think in terms of like, so you've been in Atlanta for how many, 2 years now? From Florida. I like to just bring that up as much as I can.
I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
I think wasn't there a bunch of seagulls like just following us all the way?
Oh yeah, that tends to happen. I keep raw fish in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is there any other?
Do you have a pet pelican?
Why would I keep cooked fish? That's a good question. Why would I keep cooked fish in my pocket? It should be raw fish.
But how do you feel your voice has evolved in the last 2 years?
My voice has taken shape since it's been here. I think that I threw a bunch of shit against the wall. I still kind of do, but I threw a bunch of shit against the wall when I was in Jacksonville.
You can never lose that because that's sort of part of the.
I mean, it's what makes me too. Also, like me being able to figure stuff out in time and stuff is kind of what makes me thrive and makes me feel good. Like
it's also knowing when to experiment and when not to experiment. Which I think that's what I've noticed the most about you is that you're when it's time to when it's you got to show up, you show up. You know what I mean?
like to think. I think of it as like pockets, you know, and like I try to find pockets and then make sure that I'm doing the right things in those moments or at the time that I get the opportunities. You know? Because there's always times to rise, but I also think that the definition or whatever rising is different in different moments and for different people. You know, so I just try my best to be the. To whatever that means, you know. So I try to do.
The big nugget of this one is just try your best.
Just try your best. Just try.
This will be the lift out of it. Just try. Patrick Dalton. I asked him for the best advice that he could give somebody, and it was just
try your best. Yo, just go out there and try your best. Do you? Be you. Try your best, and you'll figure it all out. Yeah.
Okay. That's a something.
Yeah, my voice took shape here. I think I kind of figured out what it was that worked for me, and then just learned how to do that better. Kind of.
Nice. So this will be coming out in the December timeframe. You got anything? Christmas. The holidays. Yeah, exactly. You want to do some ASMR?
Christmas Eve. I got pickles. I'm about to open up this jar of pickles.
Do you know Brent Starr? Have you ever Brent? Brent Starr does a joke where he turns around and squeezing his butt cheeks together as if they are talking.
Oh, okay.
He orders a chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, extra pickles. So every time anyone says pickles, I just think of Brent's butt cheeks going, extra pickles. But this is coming out. If you must identify it as Christmas time, then Christmas time.
I mean, I am pagan.
What?
I am pagan.
Are you pagan?
I've
never asked you you're religious. You look like Jesus. You get that a lot, right?
I do.
Yeah, white Jesus though.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, it's always white Jesus. Yeah.
I feed you the setups and then do your punchlines.
Yeah, thank you.
No, but do you have anything you want to plug in December? Is what I was asking you.
I will.
All that for.
I will be the show that I was supposed to do with you that I couldn't do with you with Hillary.
Up in Canna Bliss or Canna Comedy.
Yes, I'll be doing that in December.
December. Do you know what date?
No.
God, you're bad at this.
Take
a moment to look at your phone.
No, man, I got it already. It's already sitting right here. Yeah, I don't have that in my calendar, so it is definitely in December.
I believe it's the second Friday of the month. Is when she does that show.
Would be the 13th.
So it would be the 13th.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll be there the 13th. Jesus,
I'm going to send this to Hillary.
You listening to this? I appreciate everything you've done for me. You're the best. Don't drop me. Keep me with you.
Okay.
I will also be at JJ's Bohemia on the 4th. That is in Chattanooga.
In Chattanooga?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
I love saying that. Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
We have a dish where I work called Hong Kong wonton soup. I love bringing that to tips.
Okay.
And then I'll be in Joking Off. I'll be in the Joking Off Championship on the 7th of December here in Atlanta.
Is that the national championship? Or?
It's national. Oh, it's national, baby. I'm gonna have a medal by the time I'm done with it.
All right, so those are basically all your bookings for December.
Yeah, man, it's looking bleak. If you can hear me talking, book this. Book this.
Yeah, if anyone who's a booker happens to be hearing this,
hit me up. My voice sounds like this in real life.
Because I'm not going to.
He never does.
I'm booking.
He never does.
Whatever. Don't pull that shit with me again.
He says again, like this comes up all the time.
Actually, I've never
also,
been booked.
Yaga Ganga on Instagram.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yagaganga.
Say that again.
Yaga Ganga.
No. Spell it for
Yagaganga on Instagram. Yagaganga on Instagram. Yagaganga.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I think so.
Yagaganga.
I got it.
Can you hear me?
It sounds good.
Yagaganga.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Sounds good.
It does? Anything else? Anything?
No, I think this has been great. I appreciate it. Thank you for having
me. You think it's been great?
It's been fantastic.
We're 6 minutes and 42 seconds over.
I didn't do it.
With all that Florida shit. You could
have stopped me.
6 minutes.
You could have stopped me at any time. You could have stopped me at any point.
I'm going to cut out all the Florida stuff. It'll be about 5 minutes.
One can only hope. Fingers crossed.
All right, we're going to do the outro. Ready? Well, you don't do anything.
I know.
Okay. Okay, well, you know what? This has been a lot of fun. I have had a lot of fun. You can laugh. It's okay. We've learned a lot. We've learned that Patrick is from Florida. And when pressed for advice, he gave the most, chicken soup for the soul answer. Just try your best. And make sure to always carry margarita salt in your pocket. You never know when that opportunity to salt a glass of a new friend is going to come up. My name's Ian Aber, and this has been Straight People.
Thanks!